everyone, and welcome back. It's Julianne here, and today I'm creating this Slimline card featuring two of the freebies from Honeybee Stamps. The first is the Be Mine stamp set, and this came out last release, but it is now available for purchase in case you missed it. The second is the current freebie that you can get with any qualifying order while supplies last. And for my card today, I will be using both of the stamp sets along with their coordinating dies. I will also be using the Beautiful stamp set along with the Hexy pattern stencil set. And this stencil set does include 4 separate stencils that you see here. And I will be using them to do some ink blending today with some Distress Oxide inks. And I'll be using the colors Squeeze Lemonade, Mustard Seed, and Dried Marigold. So let's get started. I'm going to start out my card today by creating my background. And to do that, I'm going to be using 2 of the stencils from the Hexy pattern stencil set, along with some Ranger watercolor paper. And I've trimmed that down to 3 1/4 by 8 1/4 so that I can create my slimline card. This size is going to allow me to create a nice border for my background, but that'll be later on in the video. So I'm just going to start my ink blending using Squeeze Lemonade to get down that first layer of ink, and then I'm going to be coming in with a little bit of mustard seed, adding the color to the outside of the stencil, and then finally I'm going to add in a little bit of dried marigold to again just the outer edges. Since this stencil has a lot of detail, I did use a bit of pixie spray today, and that's going to make sure that as I'm ink blending, the stencil isn't going to move. Pixie spray is really easy to use. You just spray your stencil and give it a moment to dry, and then you position your stencil where you want it to be. I'm just going to continue to go back and forth between the 3 colors until I'm happy with my blend, and then I'm going to remove this stencil, and using the second stencil, I'm going to position it in the top right-hand corner of my background and continue with my ink blending, starting with Squeeze Lemonade, adding a little bit of mustard seed and dried marigold before I move on. Next, I'm going to be stamping both of those cute little bees with some Memento Tuxedo black ink, since I do plan on doing some Copic coloring today. I did decide to save some time in this video and do the coloring off camera, but if you are interested, I have listed the color combinations at the top of the screen. Next, I'm going to be stamping my sentiments for my card today, and I'm going to be stamping those with some Versamark ink onto some black cardstock, since I do plan on heat embossing with some white embossing powder. I did add some anti-static powder to my cardstock before stamping. That way the embossing powder only sticks to the area that I have stamped. Once my heat tool is good and ready, I'm going to bring it to my cardstock to emboss my sentiments. Once I have all of my sentiments embossed and my coloring is complete, I'm going to be using the coordinating dies to die cut out both bees as well as the sentiments that have coordinating dies. For my other sentiments, I'm going to be using a sentiment strips die, and I'm going to be running them all through my Big Shot machine, but any die cutting machine you have will work for this. I love the nice edge that you get from the sentiment strips die, so once I've ran that sentiment through the first time, I'm going to line the sentiment back up with the die and temporarily adhere it down using some more purple tape, and I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine again, and you can see now that I have that same nice die cut edge on both sides of my sentiment. And I'm going to continue to do that for the rest of my sentiments that don't have coordinating dies before moving on. Off camera, I did some additional die cutting where I used a scallop border die to die cut a piece of black cardstock, which is going to become my border for my ink blended background as I mentioned earlier. I also trimmed down a piece of yellow cardstock to 7 by 8 1/2, and I scored it 3 1/2 to become my top folding slimline card base. I'm going to be adhering my card base directly behind my piece of black cardstock as you saw here, and then I'm going to be adhering my ink blended background to the front, centering it in the middle of that panel so that I get a really nice black border all the way around. Making it so that my card base is slightly smaller than that border die, It's going to make it look as though that scalloped edge is actually my card base, and I really like how that came out. Once everything is adhered, I'm going to start working on adhering all of my images as well as my sentiments, and I'm going to be popping them all up using a little bit of foam adhesive to give my card that little bit of added dimension. Next, I'm going to be trying something new, and I'm going to be using Nuvo crystal drops instead of adding sequins to my card today. I'm going to be using the following colors: dandelion yellow, English mustard, sugared almond, and finally ripened pumpkin. I felt that all four of these colors really went with my card today and really complemented that ink blended background. If you are looking to try out Nuvo crystal drops, Honeybee Stamps offers a variety of different colors. To make sure there are no air bubbles in my Nuvo drops, I'm going to be squeezing a little bit onto a scrap sheet of paper before bringing it to my card. And I'm just going to be adding a few drops of each color throughout to give my card some additional color. I rarely ever use Nuvo drops, but I have to say, I really love how this came out today. Once I have all of the drops that I want, I'm going to tap my background onto my surface to make sure that all of my Nuvo drops settle. For my final step in my card today, I'm going to be using my Wink Stella pen to add some glitter to both of my bee's wings as well as the heart images. And that's going to complete my card for today. I want to thank you all so much for stopping by and spending some time with me. If you liked this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, as well as subscribe for more card making ideas. All of the supplies I used in today's video will be listed and linked down below in the description if you are interested. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful day and happy crafting!